when I was focusing my dissertation, like the person who started that work and the person that has ended that work are very different people. There's many versions of me that participated in this dissertation, and it's a um, I worked on it for 30 years. I just didn't know it. But one of the things that I've come to realize is that having this researcher training and like trying to do things through that lens also like created some space, some distance from it, to a point that sometimes like I wouldn't sit with like the humanity of the work, like when I read about it. But in my work, essentially, what I kept coming across was like, this is so painful. Like, how can we just interview people and write their stories? Like, we're literally asking people some of the most deepest personal things in their lives. And, a whole academic sanación has um has happened, but like we don't actually sit with the feelings of that. We don't sit with like actually our feelings about what's transpired, you know rage about the injustice. Sometimes we don't allow ourselves to feel in that moment, and like what would it have looked like if I would have, with especially with some of the earlier people, sit more with like the pain and like the anger, and also the joy of situations, because it's not just about like the terrible things. It's about being able to feel everything like deeply. And my researcher training really helps me just focus on trying to understand something rather than sit with my feelings about a situation or an experience, or sit present, because like I'm going through an experience and I'm already coding as people are talking. And sometimes like I would have better indicators of how I'm feeling about a situation if I sat with my feelings about them rather than had to write a report to determine how I
Break
felt
down
about
the
a
whole
situation,
thing. Yeah.
and what transpired.
Transcribe everything in your brain.
Yeah. I mean, that's why writing became so pivotal to change things. The writer that started to the writer that wrapped up that project, as wrapped up as it could be, because it's called The Unfinished Dissertation now, and it's a book I'm also self publishing, along with a poetry book. Those two books, the first book and the beginning you'll see is me starting my journey of becoming an academic, and like just writing a report, like a third party, cold and distant and feeling in some ways. I mean, you'll see mixes because I edited that shit so many times, so it's everything everywhere all at once. But you can see in the beginning chapters some of my more removed self as a researcher. And by the end of that, like writing my dissertation was done in the way that I had done it for my program, but then I was left with a lot of other feelings, and so a lot of experiences, a lot of thoughts, and so I wrote this other book called Coming Home to Feel and Heal, and I sat with a lot of feelings. It was so overwhelming. Um, but it was the first
Turns
time.
out you've been feeling a lot.
Yeah, it turns out I had been feeling a lot, and I just gotten so good at repressing my feelings that I didn't feel them. And sometimes I felt them internally, like my body was screaming, but I got really good at silencing, first of all, the alarms, but then I got really good at ignoring the alarms in my body too, in other ways. And now, like, it's much harder to ignore my alarms, which is like so frustrating, because I'll be like, I don't know why I feel this way,
But there was a time
that I felt nothing.
in which you envisioned being like this.
Yeah, there. I mean, I my a version of me manifested who I am today was asking like, can I be in touch with my feelings? Can I really like honor that part of myself that I have blocked myself from? Has been blocked, that's been stagnant, and now I'm like, it's too much, and I'm stressed and I'm scared, but I'm also feeling, and it's so scary because I have so many feelings, like it's not a binary, and it isn't happy endings. It's actually just a full life with everything everywhere all at once, and I'm sitting in the life that I dreamt about. That book, Coming Home to Feel and Heal, was me feeling, and then like, um, I'm a full human now. Like I'm a full person. Um, but that book is I kept dreaming in there and wondering who could I become this person, and also it turns out I was also there's areas that I'm realizing maybe I need to be a little bit different. Like as I'm feeling, I'm also being like, oh, I'm reassessing who I am and like what I'm valuing and how I want to live this life. This thing
Back
called my
to
life.
the drawing board.
Yeah, it doesn't end. Turns out that you can restart at any point, and turns out that like, you know, just because you thought this is who you would be for the rest of your life doesn't mean that it has to be who you will be for the rest of your life. Just because you thought that this career, like you worked like half of your career, so many years, you spend so much time, so much money, so much energy working on something or towards a goal, doesn't mean you have to continue it, that you can quit. Like one thing about us is we know when to quit. And what I mean is it's gonna take me however long it's gonna take me, but the day I'm like it's time to quit, I move in that direction and I do.
Mm-hmm.
And you know who knows how to quit? The enraged person.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that's the only way I have made things happen. My rage has been pivotal to my healing journey. And like listening to it and giving space to that rage in ways that are kind to me and to other people, it makes a big difference. Mm-hmm. And that's where I started writing. Because that was one of the kindest way I could really embrace my rage.
Mm-hmm. Instead of throwing bullets at people,
yeah,
you talk to yourself.
Yeah, and there were times that I was really hard on myself.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I couldn't face those versions of me, and I only wanted to dream about who I could become. Mm-hmm. But I'm still like then as time happened, I'd start to sit with those like my moments, like right then. Who am I? Not just who am I gonna become? What was my past experience? But what am I doing right now? Is this what I want to be doing? And that's where like moment happens and shift happens, because I'm like, this right now has to change.
Yeah.
But alas, we're doing so many things, and I'm just excited, man. We're gonna be busy, and like, y'all can sleep on us if you want, because we're not gonna be here forever. We are not for everyone. Everyone is not for us. And we're here for a good time, not a long time. We were born with wings and we fly.